What's going on, my people? Today I'm going to be working on the Stripe payments integration with Garage Pro. We're getting to the 90% completion way of Garage Pro, where a customer will be able to actually schedule their tow and pay for it through the app. So we're handling that part right now. I am doing most of the integration with my API backend, and ideally, the only thing that I do on the front end is once I set up the customer account and create any invoices with Stripe API using my API backend, then I'll just pass a URL to the client that they can use to make any final payments or update any information. So it's going to be primarily backend focused on the code that we're working on today. Whoa, Lord have mercy. It's not the first, not the last. So many pretty girls I pass. Oh Lord, don't let me cheat on my girlfriend. Please don't let me cheat. I started working on the helper function that I'm going to use for Stripe yesterday, and that's going to be where I keep all of the logic for integrating with Stripe. And I'll use that, my services will call the functions in that helper utility to do all the magic. No, don't let me get caught. No. Alright, yeah, this is our client right now. Stripe client. This is like Stripe client with a Stripe client inside of it. I don't love the name that I have for it, but it'll work for now. And then we have this function to initialize our Stripe client. It uses the Stripe API key that will keep inside of the environment, and it gives any errors if that key is not set. Otherwise, it'll just create an instance of this client that we can use in other functions. And with that, I think in my notes, yeah, these are the functions that I need. I'm gonna actually give this to Cursor and see what it can do with it. Alright. Close all. Close all chats. And I want to open up a new chat with close all of these, close all of these. When you see too many files open or too many directories open, does anyone else feel cluttered? I only need the things in utility. I really only need this one. So it just made me feel cluttered just now. But we're gonna be keeping that in there. And then going back to my notes, I need a and I'm going to keep the Stripe documentation open for myself while this is working. I think I have did something. Did it? No, I ain't do it yet. Over here, I had put this link for myself. Create a connected account. I want the sources. Let's see what Cursor came up with. At some point, I'll have to figure out what the refresh and return URLs are supposed to be. Like, I don't really know what they do right now or how they would be used. And so it's clear that that's the case. Cuz I'm pretty much keeping it empty as of now. And I'll do the same. I'm not testing any of this right now, so I'll do the same thing for the other examples that I need. I'm gonna check this out though. Create an account link. I want the SDK version of this. SDK. Go. Maybe it's account links. Connect. Create an account. Alright, so here is where we have create an account. I think this would also be okay. Yeah, so this is not doing what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to only update, or I wanted it to only create a connected account. I'll have some separate business logic somewhere else that does the actual check to see whether the account exists or not. But I want to keep it separate for now. I didn't even look at it. And technically, yeah, there will be no get for the connected account, but for a create account, I need to know how to reference that account specifically. Okay, so this account ID would be returned, and I could return the link URL, but I would also want to return the connected account ID. I'm taking all of this out. Yeah, I just want, it basically is saying create a new connected account ID. Yeah, this is what I want. Create this new one. Boom. So all you do, immediately create the connected account ID. Once you create this account ID, my dog is weird. Alright. Create a new connected ID. I'm gonna come into IntelliJ and close this one up. Look over here. So, new Stripe client, create connected ID. Am I using this anywhere? I don't believe so, so I'm gonna remove this. See if any errors pop up. No errors popped up. And I want to return a string, and an error. The first string is going to be the link URL. The second string will be the connected account ID. And then we create the account link for onboarding using that connected account, giving it a refresh URL, a return URL, and a type, account link params, a type, account link type, onboarding. And up here, I could add any other parameters that I'd want to add. But right now, I'm saying, basically, I'm telling Stripe, make it an Express account, set it in the US, the country, and create that new account. And then, if checking if any errors, get the ID of that newly created account, and then create an account link that can be used to finish adding information to that account. And then we'd come out, boom, return that. For update connected account, credit URL, I would take the account ID. I'm actually gonna rename this to connected. I'm gonna call it Stripe account ID. Because there's gonna be two IDs, one from my side and one from Stripe. That other one is going to be stored. The other one being the Stripe ID is going to be stored in this payment provider ID. And I could just call it a Stripe ID. I wanted to make it pretty general, but maybe it's okay. Just call it a Stripe ID. Stripe account ID. And just keep it like that. Sometimes it's good to have something general. Sometimes it's like you don't want to be too general. It's saying too many arguments for this. That's weird. Account.get. Account dot get. Get by ID or get by ID. Account ID and nil. Params. I want to know what happens if I put nil. Retrieves the details of an account. But what happens if the params are nil? Count params. The account exists. And returns an account. Question. Do you always need to do a verification check like this? Because I could remove that. In my mind, this is really just error handling before you try to send a link. you check if the account exists. But we could see right here that the account link create already failed. At this point, we're doing two API calls, one right here basically, and then another right here. One to check if the account already exists and another one to create that link. If the link doesn't exist, I'm pretty sure it won't work. But that would also be something that you could wait. You don't have to add it today. I could wait to add it when it becomes an issue and avoid it today. This one just returns the account link URL. Yeah, update. Stripe account ID. Failed to retrieve connected account. Okay. I'm comfortable with that. We'll create a connected account. Have that account. Create a customer. Set the account to create. Set Stripe account. Create the customer on the connected account. Alright, return the customer ID. Is it just me, or I really love, what is it just me, or are really verbose variable names like chef's kiss? I really love to know exactly what I'm talking about. Like params, parameters. I guess params might work either way. Even cust for customer could work. Like X for customer would not work at all. It would be super difficult to debug. But sometimes I really like customer. Like, tell me exactly what we're talking about. And this one seems good though. Return the customer ID. And then if I add this one, the service is really where these functions are going to shine. Like, this is really just my, how do I integrate with how do I integrate with Stripe? How do I do the things on Stripe that I need to do? Inside of my service layer is where I'm going to actually have to create some logic to say, this is when you should do this. This is when you should create a customer account. This is when you should create an invoice. I want to keep a lot of that business logic up there and make this like the contract I have with Stripe, so that I just can do what needs to be done. Okay. Okay, check it out. It's KD again. Let's go, let's go. That was straight. Um, what's the word? It's like thievery. It's basically making someone's words plagiarism. That was straight plagiarism. Like, I took the whole flow, changed a few of the words, and made it my own for a very popular rap. But if you ain't know that rap, you'd have thought that sounded good. Like, I went and did it right. That's called art in business. Ooh. Nah, I need send an invoice. Make it payable. Invoice items. I know what girls like. I know what they want. Yeah, create invoice. Items that validate the item sum to total. Quantity is not specified. I don't want no validation happening right here. Like, who are you even to validate my numbers? I told you what it was. I told you what's up. Business logic, bro. Don't do no type of validation like that. Create the invoice items. We're cool with that. For item in range of items. Create invoice item. Well, that's not right. Items. Create invoice items for each item. Yeah, nah, that don't even make sense. Invoice item. Create. Yeah, that don't even make sense. Oh, okay. All right, let's us create an invoice item. We hop out and they hop in. Maybe invoices. Let's go. Send an invoice for manual payment. Create an invoice. Create an invoice. Invoice payment. Hmm. Get it popping. Finalize an invoice. Alright. If I create an invoice, it's basically saying, I gotta see what's happening right here. Bless me. If item quantity is less or is greater than 1, set the account to create the invoice item on the connected account. Dot new. Yeah, this is crazy. It's not even using it. It creates a new invoice item. Creates an item to be added to a draft invoice up to 250 items per invoice. And you give it invoice item params. Invoice item params. That doesn't seem right. Invoice item params. It says deletes an invoice item, removing it from an invoice. Deleting invoice items when they are not attached to a draft twice. Invoice item params. so I'm moving slow. That seems so strange. Why would invoice item params delete an invoice? Doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. But sure. So create the invoice. We doing some validation checks right here. Make sure we have everything we need. Greater than 0. Item dot quantity. Params dot quantity. This is how many miles you've done. Item params dot quantity. Now set Stripe account ID. Item params. Okay. And then invoice item. Invoice item. So we want to collect all of these invoice items. So I'll say invoice items but if it's already coming in as an invoice items, then there's no need to do all of this. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it'll be necessary, but I'll do it for now. Invoice items. Invoice items dot append invoice items, and create the invoice. Create an invoice. Get it. Attach a payment. Now I want to create an invoice. Invoice items. Okay. So I'm going to create the invoice first. Right? Create the invoice. Should I even be doing validation up here? I'm dropping it. I don't need none of that. First things first, we create the invoice. First thing, invoice parameters. First thing first, create the invoice. Params, boom, pull that, throw it at the top. We starting off here. Create that, boom. Now we got the invoice parameters for this customer. Set the account to create the invoice on the connected account. All right. And then we create that invoice with the information we have available. Boom. All right. Now that we have an invoice, we're going to say invoice. We're going to create some invoice items. Create invoice items. Invoice item params. Invoice. Invoice. ID. Right, they say, and basically that's not right. So that's the params. Alright, you create the that's what you're doing. Then you do invoice dot invoice params. For each, create invoice items for each item. I don't even want to say that. I want to say add the invoices. And add the invoice item. Add the items. Add items to invoice. That's what I want to do. So in order to do that, what do? How do I add items to an invoice? Well, first you have to go through all of the items that we have available and create an invoice item from them. Item params. Invoice item params. Yeah, right here I should be able to specify the invoice. Boom, okay. Yeah, I had that already, but maybe this is it. I need invoice dot ID stripe string invoice dot ID. That's probably it. Take this, bring it out, and say this. Yeah. I need to specify that it was a stripe ID or stripe string, which is really just in a pointer. Because Stripe knows you need to be sending things as a pointer, especially the amount of data they're collecting. You don't want that in memory, or you don't want to make copies of that in memory. All right, so for each item, we're gonna create an item parameter. If the quantity is greater than 0, why are we asking if the quantity is greater than 0? Why are we even doing that? Item params. Let's just set quantity equal to whatever it is. Why would you put 0? First of all, why would you even put that? Quantity. I'm dropping this because we created it, set the account to create the invoice item on the connected account. Set Stripe account. Stripe. Account. Is that necessary? I see in here. Set Stripe account sets a value for the Stripe account header. Could I just set that here? Maybe not. Doesn't seem so. I don't know what it is. I've been feeling extra flummy today. Oh, man. I'm not sure what it is though. But create that invoice item. Then we append this invoice item to the invoice items that we already have. Boom, so that we got that invoice items, the Stripe invoice items. I don't even think we need to do that. We might not even need to do this. Because if I create an invoice item, it's going to automatically go to the invoice I created it for. It should, at least. It should. I believe it should. Now finalize an invoice. I'm going back over here and invoices. Finalize an invoice. Finalize an invoice to make it payable. Params, we got Stripe. It's basically saying invoice finalize. Invoice finalize, invoice params. What? Stripe dot invoice. Oh wow, that's a real thing. Invoice finalize, invoice params. Let's say pay an invoice. You can do so. Invoice, send invoice params. Stripe will automatically send invoices to customers according to your subscription settings. Let me check that out. Maybe that's where it's at. And I could configure anything here. Connected accounts. We'll use your platform. Create an account. Add test data. Invoices. Connect the account for a test account. Payouts paused. What if I want to... It doesn't show me their... like never play. ID type. All right, so Mm. According to my subscription settings, I guess that's on this page. Maybe I need to ask chat. See what it tells me. I'm not understanding what the issue is. And basically, I know there's an issue because it's highlighted red. Like, so this can't be, well, not say it can't be, it probably was the way it worked. It may not be the way it works now. Chat might have the same limitation though. You would think that the Stripe and the docs would say how to do that. Automatic charging. Params. Invoice update params. It's invoice. Automatic invoice. automatically finalizes at, can I set this? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Stripe. Let's basically make it payable in 30 seconds, or maybe even 20 seconds. I guess it would just be 30 seconds, right? Yeah. Why are seconds float 64, but milliseconds are in 64? Like, they should just all be integers. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me and mama. Like, I don't understand how that works. They should all be integers or all be floats. Honestly, you can't. Can you have a decimal value for a second? Maybe. For a microsecond, maybe. But we're already getting into super small units of measurement for time. So creating a float off of that is fake crazy. Okay. So yeah. How many microseconds in a second? Someone look up. And so if I want 30 seconds, I need to do 30. Yeah, 5. Okay, I'm basically converting. I'm saying 30 seconds is the delay, and now I'm converting the delay from seconds into microseconds. So I'm doing it here, and then that's how I get the now plus that, and then okay. This should be good. This should work. Look, this should work. Says everyone right before it doesn't work. It says everyone right before it doesn't work. Whoa. Wow. Alright. Automatically finalizes in 30 seconds. Set the amount, the invoice amount, set the account to create on the invoice. Then we create the invoice right there. Boom. Set the account to create the invoice. I could just say attach invoice to connected account. And we create it here. Check if there's any errors. Boom. Now we're gonna add items to the invoice. Alright, return the hosted URL for payment. If hosted URL is equal to and was created but no payment URL available. Okay. You want to check that. Create invoice. That might be all we need, right? We create this client, create a connected account, update the connected account, create customer on connected account, then we create an invoice for that customer that they can pay. I'll bet. Bet. Let's get it. Let's get it. All right, this is the Stripe utility. The Stripe utility is going to get used by the payment service. And the payment service is over nah, I need this somewhere else. Invoice item amount in cents. That was something I wanted to look at too. When you create an invoice, I wonder what exactly they're looking for. No, their invoice. No, amount. Excuse me. So we're on the same page. If you want to apply a credit to a customer's account past a negative amount. Okay. The integer amount in cents or local equivalent of the charge to be applied. The lowest denominator. Literally, there's no reason to be talking about dollars when you could use cents, bro. That's how you know. That's how you know, for real. I read American Sniper a few weeks ago, maybe. I think I finished it maybe a week or two ago. And the author was saying that when he was at war, they didn't measure in pounds, or he didn't measure in pounds. He measured in ounces. And when you're thinking about any type of field where precision matters, the smaller your unit of measurement, the more precise you can become. It's the difference between saying I'll get within a mile of your destination versus I'll get within an inch of your destination. Those are two different units, but both give a different picture. In some fields, you don't need to be within a mile, or being within a mile is great. But if you're asking or you're paying someone to deliver or drive you somewhere or deliver something to you, imagine if they're a mile away or they're within the mile, right? Like, that would be a horrible service. But if you can if you could place it in my hand, if you know my coordinates exactly and you place it in my hand, that's like the football players. Like, some of them, they know exactly where you gonna be. Well, not just where you at, they know where you gonna be. Throw it to you. Boom. got you. Now, if you know how to catch it, if you know that's one part of the equation, but what happens when the passer just makes it so easy for you to catch it? That's where precision matters. So, all I have to say, when you're dealing with numbers or when you're dealing with financials inside of software, it's much easier, in my opinion, to use the local currency's smallest denominated amount. So in US dollars, it'll be cents. In Bitcoin, it'll be Satoshis. All right, we have this. Yeah, I need to hook up this Stripe utility to payment service. Nope. I think I have a separate update toll payment. Okay. Update toll payment status. Payment status. And then when we're in here, it's actually not even in the payment stat service that I'll need to update. I'll need to update the tow service because that's where the invoice is created. And calculate toll price will be 1. It's in this utility, create payable item. Create payable item is going to take the total that has been calculated. Or no, it shouldn't even do that. I think create payable item should calculate the total. It should take the pricing info, calculate that total, create invoice items based on the prices there's another step too. We have to actually, so tolls are calculated per mile. So I need some type of, I need a way to calculate the miles between a start and a destination. I'll probably be able to use a Google API, like the Google Maps API, something like that. I haven't used it before, but something like that. That would, if I give it a start and an end, it would tell me how many miles between those 2 points. In the most precise unit of measurement possible, ideally. So those are a few more methods I'll actually have to add in order to get this going. I don't need to wait for that in order to test though. For right now, I have the Stripe implementation working, or I have the Stripe implementation set up. I need to figure out how can I test Stripe to get that to work. So how do I test that How do I test what? That an invoice is created. Or I need to test that I need to test the create connected account and the update connected account. That's first. I'll test those. And that actually is going to be I'll put that in the company service because it's accessible through the company information or account information UI page. So both of those will be accessible through the company domain area. Create customer on a connected account, create invoice. Create custom. Okay, those two are going to be done via the tow service. Yeah, so got this. All right. Now I'm going to change, because I'm not just testing that the payment implementation works. I'm test that Stripe integration works. Integration works. Test 1 is test 1 onboard setup connected account. Set up connected account with set up payment set up connected account on company account information page. Or it don't have to be a page, but that might be. I don't think I have an endpoint for that either. Set up connected account on company information page. Yeah, right now it's blank. I have API endpoints for all the other things, but I'll need to do that then also. Create endpoints to integrate Stripe functionality. Yeah, because I'm implementing the Stripe integration. I'm adding an extra step just because. So I need an endpoint that takes a company ID and returns a URL to update the returns a URL to update or to create a connected account or to update. It can be one to update a connected account. from the UI standpoint, I don't need to have such fine-grained methods, so I can abstract that away from them. So to create or update a connected account, I need to update the schedule tow endpoint to create a customer to create a customer, create an invoice, and create an invoice, return the URL, and update the return tow to include what? And do I have that already defined? I might not have it defined. Payment reference. I guess payment reference is the thing. Your payment status is whether it's been paid or not. Created at payment reference, payment URL. Maybe that's what it should be, payment URL or payment reference. I was just thinking about how would I implement this if I were to go to Ghana or Nigeria. They have their own, I think, Stripe alternatives that can help handle payment implementations. And I was also thinking about how could I make it so that my customers could use Bitcoin or Ethereum to pay. And I think that is all done through those wallets that Stripe supports. And even things like MasterCard, they have a Bitcoin card available now where you can pay for items with Bitcoin. So any customer that has that card would then be paying with Bitcoin, but to me, I'm just accepting MasterCard payments. Yeah, I should have descriptions. Okay. Payment reference ID from Stripe. Okay. Payment reference ID from Stripe. That's not the same as what I'm describing. This is more like an invoice ID or a charge ID. I need the actual URL. So I may need to add. And should it be stored with the toe? Yeah, I don't think that should be in the toe. That's just gonna, at some point, adding too many fields to toe is gonna start muddying up toe and changing what it means to be a toe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are the types of questions because I might need to, like you see in the models directory, I have external, which describes what a Stripe event looks like. And then so far, I've been keeping my internal models in the general directory. But I may need to add another group that's more, what do they call them? Like it's almost like the DTOs, data transfer objects, I believe. And the DTO is just, this is the request or response format. DTO meaning software. Yeah. I'll probably add a DTO for a toe that sends back some payment information plus the toe, like the URL. Uh, yeah, I got some thinking ahead. I'm gonna work on that, figure out how to organize this so that it makes sense to me moving forward and I'm not just sending too much information back to the client, because they probably don't need the payment status. They only need the URL, the tow ID, and anything, the things that they need to display at that point. The price would be important. Bless me. Yeah. Things to think about when you're designing software. You have a lot of data that you're going to be storing at a certain point, and you don't want to be sharing that data everywhere. It may not always be for a security reason. Sometimes you're reducing the amount of data that you send to a client because you understand that that client may not have the network or storage resources required to actually load thousands of rows with a dozen columns. You want to make that payload that you send to the client consumable for them so that they have everything they need in order to do whatever visualization that they need, or any type of transformations, or even to reference that request in response in a future request if they had to do any edits or updates. But you don't want to send everything you have, because your server can hold way more data and process way more data than that client phone or website, whatever it may be. So keep that in mind. I'm checking out though. Peace out. Everybody be great.